Great.
Well, I love Big O, and
So do I.
but we don't own Big O. Sunrise does, so you would have to ask Sunrise and Bandai. But I mean, more Big O sounds good to me.
But do you guys own Fooly Cooly?
We don't own Fooly Cooly,
See?
but Fooly Cooly is not owned by Sunrise, one of the biggest companies in the world. So
I think we can.
If you get a campaign going with Sunrise,
let's get a meeting going with Sunrise.
Sure, just tell them.
Let's talk things out.
People want it.
Okay.
But no, I mean, you're talking to a person who got the second season of Big O made and also has the Soul of Chogokin $150 one in my office. So I look at Roger Smith every day.
Kari, I just wanted to ask, you touched on what it was like coming back to Haruko during the panel, but what was it like maybe playing off of in season 2 with Jinyu as a character, sort of the relationship that the two characters have?
That was so interesting. I've always been kind of fascinated by the idea of the id and the ego and the superego, just in psychology, and so I really felt like that was such a physicalization of these different parts of Haruko, and that battle, because we all have certain battles within ourselves. So I found that so fascinating, and sometimes one side wins and sometimes the other side wins.
Well, thank you very much.
Kari, you first recorded Haruko 17 years ago?
Yes.
So what was your reaction when you heard they'd be doing more and they wanted you back?
I was pretty shocked because, it's been such a popular character for me. It's still the most popular project that I've ever done, and people would always ask me over the years, are you guys ever going to do a sequel? And after about 13 years, you start saying, people, let it go. Or you at least start thinking, it's never going to happen. So when they called and they said, hey, this might actually be happening, would you come back? I was really surprised, but I was absolutely all in to do it.
How has it been coming back to that role?
It's been fantastic. I was really nervous about it just because, there's been so much build-up and expectation for the sequels, and I just really wanted to do the part justice again. But then the first session, we started recording, and it just kind of felt like slipping back into this really comfortable sweater, and it just felt really good. All of us just went, this is it.
You always have a variety of different characters, and Haru especially is this very kind of left field, very whimsical kind of person. What is it like voicing her as opposed to Starfire or some of your other roles?
The thing about Haruko is that with any other character I play, I have an idea of where it's going to go. If you're playing a heroic superhero, you kind of have an idea of you're probably going to beat the bad guy in the end. Or if you're playing a very sweet character, you kind of have an idea of what choices they're going to make. And Haruko, I honestly never know what she's going to say or do next. And it's really exciting as an actor because we don't get the scripts for this in advance. So I kind of show up and I'm like, all right, let's go, bring it on. It's like creative dodgeball, throw it at me, And but that's exciting because you just live very much in the artistic moment, and that's the really fun thing about the character.
Thank you.
What are some challenges that you found bringing season 2 back?
I could write a book about the challenges. I mean, first and foremost, the biggest challenge initially was just convincing the team that it was something worth attempting. Because you look at something that you've done and you think it's a perfect encapsulation of what you're trying to say, and there's definitely you could totally understand the reasoning of saying, we said what we wanted to say, we don't need to say anymore, and furthermore, we don't want anyone else to say anything about it. So there was some work to be done in convincing them that we were sincere when we said they could do whatever they wanted, and that we had the money they wanted, which was a lot, and that we were willing to enter into the journey with them that would allow them to create the best version of what this thing could be. And once we had enough meetings with Tsurumaki, the creator of the original, and sort of he saw our sincerity. He decided to be a part of it and sort of executive produce it and guide us and sort of point us in directions. And that his advice was key, valuable advice at almost every opportunity. So once I stopped bugging him to actually direct it himself, which he was very relieved when I finally stopped doing that. he came very close to doing it, but he's doing another project, and he was thinking you could see him just turning it over in his mind going, how do I make the pieces work so I can do both? But he couldn't. But even that, the advice he gave us about get a new team, let them do whatever they want. To be true Fooly Cooly, it basically has to completely be its own thing and not worry about being reverent to the original. It should be irreverent to the original. And so I think we've done that, and I think that the teams that Production IG gathered together entered into the spirit of this project that way, and I think that, but was not without its angry phone calls, and Ishikawa and I have gotten to know each other very well. So,
Jason, did this idea always start as 2 seasons? Because this is not just one new season; it's 2.
Yeah.
Was this always 2 from the beginning? Did that develop?
That actually, our idea was 1 new season. Right. So Adult Swim just basically said, make 6 more, or make 20 more, make however many more you want. And so it was really the production unit that said, well, we like the 6-episode structure of the original, but we want to do more, and we want to do 12. So we're going to do 2 seasons at once. And we said, great, because for us, the more episodes, the better, because television is a habit-building thing, and we still are in that business. But we didn't have an idea on our end of, you need to make this many. We basically put it in the hands of the production unit. What do you think you could do with this money and have it look really good and be something that lives up to the spirit of the original? And they came back to us with this suggestion. So.
And for Kari, in these new scenarios, is there anything you'd liked, like a new setting or a new position for Haruko that you've really enjoyed playing, be it being a teacher or something else?
I think just overall, I like that there's been a lot more emphasis on the female experience. Because in the original, it was very much Naota going through puberty and having these things happen, and I think in the second and especially the third season, there's just a lot more emphasis on girls' experiences with sexuality and life and puberty and relationships, friendships, not just boy-girl relationships or anything like that, but and it's great because since you can really push the envelope with FLCL, we are exploring things about the female experience that I personally have not seen explored before. Because it's complicated as a woman in a way that maybe it's not for a guy when you're facing these feelings that you're having and growing up and everything, and they're very blunt and upfront about things that women and girls go through. So I love that. That's been kind of a surprising and awesome change for me in these seasons.
So I've always felt that the soundtrack was a character unto itself. What was it like to bring the Pillows back in? What does the development of the soundtrack for the second and third season look like?
So for us, we knew that when we were bringing Fooly Cooly back, there were a couple elements that we all thought, us and the show unit, all agreed had to be in the show. We needed Haruko. We needed the pillows, and we needed to explore adolescence and sexuality. So the pillows for us coming on board was really the first step. Step 1 was acquiring the rights, talking to Tsurumaki and getting him on board. Step 2 immediately was the pillows. The pillows, luckily, were really receptive. They were actually kind of on a hiatus at the time. They were more than they were pretty much baffled. They were like, "What? You're making more?" And Americans care about the show? Our music, they love what? They were like, yeah, great, okay. So they were really on board with that. They were excited about jumping back in and adapting old songs to sort of fit this new stuff and making new work. And they have been a joy to work with, and putting them on the tour and everything. They have been blown away by everybody's reactions, and I think for them it's re-energized them and sort of shown them that they have a fandom beyond just Japan, which is obviously where they live and where they're from, and of course that's where they focus their efforts, but it's really opened their eyes to the effect that Fooly Cooly has had on a generation of American audiences, and sort of gotten them really excited about their music again, which I think is awesome. But for us it was an absolute necessity, because that is one of the things that makes Fooly Cooly stand out so much, is that music. And so for us it was like, look, we have to have the pillows, or we're not doing it. So them coming on board was actually the second key thing that happened, where I felt like, okay, we have a shot at having this not suck. You know, if it was the Schmillos, you know, like
It's not quite the same.
it's not quite the same thing.
How much freedom are you given with adapting FLCL? Whether it be, with lines or, I guess, like how to present it to the audience?
Well, I mean, the directors that we have, I mean, obviously Stephanie worked on the original, so basically we wanted her to have the exact same approach. And what made the original dub stand out so much, I think, among many other things like performances, is that they treated the Japanese original script respectfully, and there are obviously certain terms that don't translate directly, so they just didn't bother translating them. They figured anime fans will know what tsundere means, you know what I mean? That they don't, I think they treat the dub like, look, we have to adapt it for another language, but we must keep to the spirit of everything that's being said, and we're not going to change a joke to a joke that everyone in the room, because they're American, is like, oh, that's funnier if we do this to an American. No, they're going to keep it sort of the spirit of what that original joke must be. And I think that same attention to detail is something we demanded from them, and they were more than happy to deliver. And believe me, the timelines they were working with were tight, and everybody had to work very hard. And if we didn't have talent like Kari, who could come in and just be like, I'm doing what? Okay, you have 5 minutes, go. And just like, nail it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because it would get so specific. Like there'd be a sound, and I would listen to the original Japanese and I would do the sound, and then they would stop, and there'd be like a 6 or 7 minute discussion where they were saying, no, actually the sound technically means this, but the attitude that it's conveying is only used in this situation, so it's really trying to say this. Like it would get that technical as far as the interpretation of it. And Jason's right, like there were certain times where they would just keep the original Japanese. They're like, you know what, if the kids don't know what this means, they're going to look it up.
They'll figure it out.
God forbid that they should learn something. You know what I mean? It's nice. So it didn't just kind of spoon feed a translation, which I really appreciated about the first one, and they definitely stuck to that with these sequels.
Kari, Haruko's monologue in the first episode of the second season in front of the classroom, that was like insane, and I loved it. But was that one difficult at all? And do you get to do that do you do that part in snippets, or is that all one take, or what?
I think that we did that whole monologue twice. I think maybe we did it a third time just for safety coverage, but
and you don't understand, guys, Kari's a robot. Kari's a machine. She's a machine. Because anyone else would be like, can we break this up, or hold on, I gotta practice this. She went in and was like, good. And everyone was like, we could do another for safety. She was like, good. Yeah, actually, amazing. Like, it's amazing to watch. It seriously is. I was like, good Lord.
But I like that in that it goes on for such a long time, and like she starts out off at like a 1, but at the end of it she's like at a 20.
Absolutely.
And out of breath.
And I think that when we did it the second time around, they're like, can we start her transformation and go up to a 6 about 15 seconds earlier? Like that was literally the note, as far as can it just start to shift here up to a 10. But I don't know. Maybe I was possessed.
Possessed by the spirit of Haruko.
Possessed by Haruko.
Well, what has the response been for, at least on your end, for season 2, and has it affected your outlook for season 3 at all?
It's been generally a great response. I mean, when you're anime fans can be very territorial, obviously, as we all know. As with any passionate fandom, there's a segment that is sort of negative about doing retreads of things or as cash grabs, or so we knew going into it that we faced an enormous challenge in winning over those people. And I think what we've seen is we did win over some of them, we didn't win over others, and more importantly, we made new fans, and we won over a bunch of people who never had watched the original, who actually went and watched it for the first time just so they would be up to speed on the new one. And we've been very pleasantly surprised by both how it's done, and the general response has been, for us, positive. We never expected, this show is a very unusual show, and it is not trying to be what most other things in this landscape of television are trying to be, which is, it's not one type of thing. I mean, Fooly Cooly is not one particular genre. It's not a shonen, it's not a shoujo, it's not a moe, it's its own thing. And for us, it was just important that it felt still like its own thing, and whether or not you liked it, we at least wanted you to think, well, they put their heart and soul into it, and they at least tried to make their own version of whatever they felt Fooly Cooly could be. And by and large, that has been what people have said to us. Whether they liked it or not varies from person to person, because a lot of people saw the original when they were 12 and it really imprinted on their brain, and nothing is ever going to live up to that experience of seeing that first time, but all we wanted to do was make work that could stand on its own, and so far the response has been very gratifying. And everywhere we've shown the episodes, and everywhere that most of the reviews, I don't need everything to be positive, I just need to know that some people really engaged with it, and they did. So
Jason, going back to reviving shows that have been away for some years, Gendy Tartakovsky told me he has 10 really good unproduced scripts for Symbionic Titan, and he says Mike Lazo would be all for it. I think maybe you would have to talk to him about it, but hypothetically, what do you think about
I can't
that?
speak for Mike, but we love Symbionic Titan, and then the reason that we aired it on Toonami is because we felt it didn't get enough love the first time.
Yeah.
I do know that it's a much more expensive show to make than Sam Jack was, so cost may be a factor, but we loved the original, and that's why we showed it. So if Gendy, Gendy can make whatever he wants at Cartoon Network or anywhere else. So if Gendy really wants to make it, I would say give Mike a call then, because that's out of my hands. But I'd be more than
got
happy.
the Samurai Jack. I think
Bring back
let's keep
Kimmy.
it going.
I just asked for bringing back cheerleader Kimmy. Booty shake.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that went viral for a while. There was a big scandal.
I know, right? It was scandalous.
But no, it's a terrific show, and I would love to see more episodes.
I'm not hearing a no.
Not for me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
So much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I
Congrats.
just really appreciated it.